I wanted to make this video to kind of address a topic that's actually kind of near and dear to me from a hobby or extracurricular standpoint. And that's that I want to discuss something I feel like it's very rarely talked about within the realm of HEMA, historical European martial arts, or even just martial arts in general. I mean, from looking at me, unsurprisingly enough, I am a HEMA guy, but I'm also a historical arms and armor guy, and have been, well, for the latter, I have been since I was a kid. And maybe one day I'll talk about my relation with that. But I've been in very much into HEMA now for like 12 years. But before we begin, by the way, some people who might see this might get a kick out of this, but this is yeah, this is my Christmas sweater. Yeah, I mean, are you really surprised? And I mean, eventually I might do a video where I might show off the rest of my collection, but also, I got this as well. It's a cutlass. It's personal made too. Like it was. I met the smith that I made it. He pretty cool dude. Military veteran too. But funnily enough, not to go off topic, but the guy, he's in his late 70s. When he got out of the service, he didn't know what he was going to do with the rest of his life. A friend of his said, "You want to learn how to blacksmith?" And he said, "Sure, but I think it's fucking stupid." Well, and he goes, "Well, fast forward 25 years, and I've been making swords and all that shit for a living." He's a pretty cool dude. Runs the one of the swordsmithing things for the Ohio Renaissance Festival. That's where I met him. He's a pretty cool, pretty good dude. Likes to play Fallout and Doom. But he's particularly a pretty big fan of Fallout 3. I have no idea if that's any good or not. But anyway, I want to talk about something in regards to HEMA and martial arts that I feel like is very seldom talked about. And disclaimer, and anyone who comes across this, if you've got questions and stuff, I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm not saying this to be judgmental. I'm not saying this to be an asshole, but I feel like this is something that does need to be talked about a little bit more for a multitude of different reasons. And that is physical fitness and common sense within historical European martial arts, or just martial arts in general. Whether you're actually at a gym or a dojo, or even if it's just simple backyard stuff. I feel like this is something that needs to be talked about. And again, I'm not saying this kind of thing to be mean, but I kind of want to maybe explain, and then hopefully maybe people can grasp where I'm coming from with this. And the reason why is because I ran into a friend from that used to work at the HEMA gym that I used to go to. Cool dude. He asked me, do I still keep up with it? I told him, yeah. And he said asked me if I had any memories of what things were like at, doing HEMA at their gym. And for some reason, I just, like, I mean, apart from like sparring matches and sparring tournaments, which were by all means fun. I won some, lost some, it was a good time. But something that he brought up that kind of stuck with me, or he didn't bring it up, but what kind of came out of my head was this kind of thought about some of the casuals that used to attend drill sessions and stuff like that. And they were the well, pros and cons of HEMA. Pros, you get to learn the old ways of martial combat. Something that even in a, you know, say you have a broomstick and some asshole comes at you with a knife, I'd rather know how to use that, you know, that broomstick as a fucking, as a staff or a longsword before, rather than not know what to do without it. You know what I mean? Hypothetical speaking. But one of the most notable cons is that it does attract a certain type of element. And I don't know. I want to try. I'm trying to look for the proper word to phrase this without. I'm not trying to say again. I'm not trying to be an asshole here. Uh, I want to say nerd or nerds, but nerd is a very broad term. Uh, because I'm a nerd, even though depending on your definition of nerd, I may look like one, I may not. I mean, by some people's definition, Henry Cavill is a fucking nerd. I mean, technically, he fits the technical term. Like if you put like a put him in a black box and didn't tell anyone who was in it and just put out the basic details of Henry Cavill, everyone would describe hobbies and stuff like that. You would think he was some scrawny ass nerd, and no, it's fucking Superman. So I don't want to use the term nerd because I mean fuck what's his name? He was in Vikings. He was he's the voice of Titus in Space Marine 2. Clive Standen, who played Rollo on Vikings. Much like Henry Cavill, hell, I think he's a gamer and a fucking Warcraft or Warhammer nerd, you know? And both guys look like they could probably kick the shit out of the average person. I mean, let's be honest. You know, I just look like a common rocker. No one would ever think that I'm into comic books or video games or stuff or that I'm a cinephile, like a movie buff. So I feel like nerd is too broad a statement. What I'm talking about is more like, I don't want to say geeks or, what was it? My ex had a term for these people. Gurks, geek, nerd, dork, something like that. I would just simply say weeb. But again, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but we all know the type. They're usually these scrawny little spit fucks or these either fat or these flabby or fat bodied types, stuff like that. And people who are going to be prone to hurting themselves, because they either lack common sense or they lack the proper physical health standard for something, because when I do sword drills in the summertime, because I'm not doing it right now because it's like fucking 6 degrees outside right now, and I'm not doing it. Not today. I hear it's supposed to be like 40 or 50 degrees tomorrow, and I'm definitely planning on it then. But when I do like a sword drill, just like practicing form and everything, I'm usually going at it for about 45 minutes to, depending on what kind of workout I did, sometimes I'll go about as far as 2 hours. It's good cardio. It's good for like working on things like footwork because, swordplay especially, but any kind of like weapon-based martial art is no different than like learning how to dance. You know what I mean? And like dancing, the fitter you are, the better you are at it. But you also have to be mindful and have common sense. Like, if you're going to do this, for one, do it outside. Because when you do this shit indoors, you're just a risk to yourself. You're a risk to the environment around you. Because how many fucking sword videos on YouTube alone have we seen where some dillweed takes out the fucking ceiling light? Or, God forbid you're a danger to other people, including, whoever lives with you, whoever's around you, or even, especially, God's forbid, your pets. I, like I said, I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying this to be an asshole. What I'm trying to get at is what would help is before you decide that this is a hobby or extracurricular you want to get into, and this goes out to people who are predominantly new to the sport itself. Train your body, train your mind. I don't know how else better way to say it. I guess one of the best examples would be that quote from Brian Cox's character Argyle in Braveheart, who he's supposed to be like Mel Gibson's uncle, and he has that line in the movie where he says to him, "First, I'll teach you to use this, and then I'll teach you to use this," and he holds up a sword. That is, I feel like that's a very viable concept to live by, especially in this sport. Take the time, study books, study manuals, put some like extra thought into it before you actually kind of like delve into this things, but also think about how like study how like a sword handles or how a weapon handles. That way you don't get videos like that guy who used some mall ninja machete to try to cut that watermelon and damn near cut his hand off, damn near cut his own hand off. If you haven't seen that video, it's pretty brutal. Or like those idiots who, the sword and the hot dog in the mouth, if you haven't seen that video yet. But it just, studying things like basic safety, but also studying, like, again, studying the manuals to get an idea. That way it helps you maybe, through studying and stuff like that, maybe you might realize like, oh, this might be the weapon that is better suited for me. Or maybe this is the kind of style I would like to learn, or I would take an interest in learning. That's how I developed an interest in German longsword. Even though I've never physically trained in it, I'm still studying it. But I know I am interested in it, and I would like to learn more of it before I actually pick it up and put it into practice physically. But then we get to the physical fitness of this. And again, I'm going to say this is either the third or fourth time I've said this. I am not saying this to be an asshole, but this is the part where I'm going to get really, really blunt. Nothing is wrong with physical practice. You know what I mean? Going out, testing form, testing cuts and slashes and thrusts and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's nothing wrong with doing that in a public place, like a public park, away from other people, preferably. There's nothing wrong with that. But to put it bluntly, look, if you're like some scrawny, nerdy little twerp, or again, some flabby, fat body, swinging a sword around isn't going to make women want to fuck you. It doesn't make you look cool, and no one thinks you're a badass. Again, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm saying this because it's to actually spare you that that brutal reality. Like if you're the scrawny little twerpy dude, you should probably look into weightlifting and start focusing on trying to put muscle. If you're the heavier set guy, you should probably focus on weight loss. Again, this is where we get into the train your body portion of the video. Get yourself fit, get yourself strong. Because let's be real, if you look strong and you're doing this stuff, like you're in good shape or reasonably good shape, clean yourself up a little bit, get rid of that fucking neck beard, whatever the hell that is. No one's gonna, you're less likely to have women laugh at you. And then, I've seen sword guys that they look like football players. Like, you see them everywhere on social media. They're not all scrawny dudes. Like, they don't all like look like average people. Sometimes a lot of these sword guys look exactly like they look like college football players and stuff like that. And you know what people think when they see guys like that? They think to themselves, oh, he's an athlete, he's a martial artist. They never think anything else for a second. Do that for yourselves. Build up muscle, lose fat if that's what your problem is. Work on yourself, work on your mind, work on your body. No one will look at you as a joke. And because I don't want anybody to feel that way. But also, again, work on your mind too. Like, anger is a weapon that you have to learn how to wield, because it can make you do stupid shit. But also, it would help to work on yourself, your mind, to maybe make yourself, less cringe too. Because trust me, when you think of something badass you think you would hear in a fucking anime, the odds of that actually sounding cool in real life are very slim. Train your mind, train your body. Hone yourself before you ever decide to to pick up something like this, or oh crap, sorry, or anything like that up there, or anything in my golf bag. Probably can't really see anything. Yeah, I keep all my weapons in a golf bag. I'm like Casey Jones. If Casey Jones was a serial killer. I'm not a serial killer, but you get my meaning. I guess, I guess I'm Casey Jones if Casey Jones fell more into fuck around and find out territory. But jokes aside, and like I said, it comes with the health benefit too. Because when you're physically fit or your stuff like that, you're not putting as much strain on yourself when you're out there. Because like I said, I do a lot of sword and axe stuff because it's genuinely good cardio, and it helps with circulation because you're moving and everything like that. So your blood is more like your heart is working a lot more, you're pumping a lot more blood, and it helps. But of course, if you're massively overweight and stuff like that, you're putting a lot more strain on your heart, and you might find out the hard way that maybe you have a condition, and unfortunately you might find out the hard way, and you might find out too late. I'm not saying that if you pick up a sword and swing it around, you're going to have a fucking heart attack. I'm not saying that, but it helps to, like I said, take care of yourself, hone your mind, hone your body. then pick up a sword. You know, in fact, this goes for everyone. I'm not just talking about dudes. I'm talking about women as well. Pick up a sword. You know, like I said, you know, you want to feel empowered. You want to feel strong. Pick up a sword. You'll feel it. You'll understand, even if it's for a moment. Swords are a fucking cool hobby, man. And HEMA is a really good thing to get involved in because these are a series of different martial artists from several different, or martial arts of several different time periods that anyone can learn. It's good for the mind, it's good for the body, but you should hone your mind and hone your body before you do it. It's that way, it's healthier all the way around, both emotionally, mentally, and physically. I just want to see people who get into this hobby, I just want to see people be safe, but also be mindful. Again, I'm not trying to make this video to be mean or rude or brush anybody off or anything like that. I just don't want to see anybody get hurt, either because of just a lack of common sense or because they maybe tried to do something that they weren't physically prepared for and maybe end up having a problem that, you know, you never know if anyone can do anything about it, you know what I mean? But that being said, that's all for this one. If there, you know, any questions or whatever, feel free to express yourselves in the comments. And if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. It's cold, so stay warm, stay bundled up. There is no winter is coming, winter is here. And winter is a frigid bitch. So stay warm and treat yourself to a hot cup of coffee or tea if that's your thing. And I'm getting ready to go make a pot of coffee now. In fact, my first sip is a toast to anyone and everyone who watches this video. Anyway, thank you for watching. And have a great rest of your week or weekend. Bye-bye.